What if you never had to study again? Ever? What if you could just install expertise like it was a piece of software? Well, today we're going to dive into a hypothetical that starts out sounding like an absolute dream come true, but you'll see how quickly it spirals into a nightmare that makes us question what a human being is even worth.
Just really think about that for a second. No more lectures, no textbooks, no all-nighters. 1 minute, you're just you. The next, boom, you have all the knowledge, every single memory, and the entire thought process of the greatest physicist of the 20th century. You'd be a genius. In seconds. Sounds incredible, doesn't it?
You know, this one thing would completely shatter the old 10,000-hour rule, that idea that you need decades of hard, grueling work to become a master at something. Instead of decades of dedication, you get instantaneous expertise. All that time and money you would have spent, poof, gone, replaced by a single click of a button. But, as we're about to find out, this utopian dream very quickly curdles into a biological, economic, and even a philosophical nightmare.
So first things first, we immediately hit a wall, a hard biological wall. See, this whole seductive idea of a simple download just completely misunderstands what a memory even is. Your mind is not a hard drive just sitting there waiting for you to drag and drop a new file into it.
The key idea here is something called an engram. A memory isn't some abstract bit of data floating around in your head. It's a physical thing. It is the actual, tangible change in your neurons, the way they connect, the strength of those connections. It's architecture. So to download Einstein's brain isn't just copying information. It's attempting to perform a microscopic, instantaneous brain transplant. And look, this isn't some fringe theory we're talking about. There is an overwhelming consensus in the scientific community. Over 70% of neuroscientists agree that our long-term memories are permanent, structural parts of our brain. They are physically woven into the fabric of who you are.
And the consequence of trying to ignore this reality, it would be absolutely catastrophic. Trying to cram the entire complex architecture of Einstein's mind onto your brain's unprepared foundation, well, it would create this massive cognitive overload. Your biological hardware, which didn't have the decades to gradually adapt like Einstein's did, would just crash. We're talking neurological trauma on a scale that's almost impossible to imagine.
Okay, but let's hit pause on reality for a second. Let's imagine we wave a magic wand and solve the whole biology problem. We can now safely download genius into anyone. What happens then? I mean, you'd think we'd basically create a paradise, a world of unbelievable productivity and wealth. But the economic reality is just as terrifying as the biological one.
And this is where things get really, really strange. In this world, we'd create an almost infinite amount of wealth. But in that same process, we would make individual human genius completely and utterly worthless.
To give you a sense of the scale here, just think about this. Economists figure that simply getting every single child on Earth to a basic reading level would add a staggering $196 trillion to the global economy. That's the power of learning. Now imagine we're not just downloading basic literacy. We're talking advanced theoretical physics, complex surgical skills, master engineering, all downloaded into billions of people. The economic output wouldn't be measured in trillions anymore. We'd be talking about quadrillions. Global GDP would just go vertical. It would explode. So the logical next step is, great, we'd all be fantastically rich, right? I mean, with the brain of a genius, you could write your own ticket, command any salary you wanted. That's how it would work, isn't it? Wrong. Utterly, devastatingly wrong. The total amount of wealth in the world would skyrocket, but your personal slice of that pie would plummet down to basically zero. And it all comes down to this killer economic concept, perfect skill substitutability. Right now, a company pays a brilliant physicist a huge salary because people like her are rare. But in our new world, if that physicist asks for a raise, the company can just say, nah, we're good. Hire anyone off the street, download the Einstein package, and have a perfect identical replacement in seconds. I mean, it's the most basic law of economics. Value comes from scarcity. When genius isn't scarce anymore, when it's just a commodity you can download like an app, its economic value completely collapses. Your incredible, world-changing skills are now worth next to nothing. That giant wage premium you get for having specialized skills would pretty much vanish. Wages for even the most complicated thinking jobs would drop to subsistence levels, just enough to keep your body functioning as a host for the downloaded software. And all those quadrillions in new wealth? That would all flow to the people who own the download servers, not to you.
So, your genius is worthless. But believe it or not, it gets worse. We've talked about the damage to your body and your bank account. Now we have to talk about your soul. If your mind is just a bunch of software packages you downloaded, what is even left of you?
You know, philosophers have been wrestling with this stuff for centuries. A guy named David Hume argued way back in the 1700s that our memories are what create the story of who we are. They're the thread that connects the person you were yesterday to the person you are today. So if you can just cut, copy, and paste that thread, what on earth happens to your identity? This leads to a really profound paradox. Let's say we scan Einstein's memories and we download them into two different people, person A and person B. Now, both of them have a perfect first-person memory of discovering relativity. Both of them feel with every fiber of their being that they are Albert Einstein. So who's the real one? The concept of a single, unique self is just shattered.
And listen, this problem isn't just philosophical fantasy. It's tangible. There are actual documented cases of heart transplant recipients who report experiencing memories, emotions, even food cravings that belonged to their organ donor. It causes this profound identity crisis. Now imagine that feeling magnified 1 billion times over by downloading an entire lifetime. The psychological trauma would be absolutely devastating.
So, skills have no value. Your identity is fragmented and broken. What is left? Well, in a world that is flooded with perfect copies, the only thing that has any value anymore is the one thing you can't download: authenticity. Being provably, certifiably real.
And get this fight has already started. In 2021, Chile became the first country in the world to actually put neuro rights into its constitution to protect people's minds. Then in 2023, their Supreme Court ordered a tech company to erase a user's brain data. The battle to legally define and protect our original, authentic minds is happening right now, today. And to enforce these rights, society would have to turn to some pretty crazy technology. We'd see things like self-sovereign identity, which basically just means you hold the private crypto keys to your own brain data. You could have blockchain ledgers that create a tamper-proof history of your mind, proving where it came from. And maybe most wild of all, neural watermarking could embed a unique signature into your organic memories to prove that they are authentically yours.
And this creates the ultimate dystopian class divide. On one side, you have the originals, the elite, who can afford to have their minds verified on the blockchain as 100% organic. Their status doesn't come from what they know, but from the fact that they learned it the old-fashioned hard way. And on the other side, you have the copies, the masses, their minds just a patchwork of downloaded skills and synthetic experiences, serving as efficient but basically soulless cogs in the economic machine.
Which brings us to our final and frankly chilling question. The dream of downloading genius promises to give us everything we've ever wanted, but in a world where your deepest thoughts are just licensed software, where your most cherished memories are a commodity, and where your unique skills have no value, you have to ask yourself, what is the price of your soul?